Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailySheeple.com, and this is your news shot. So The Guardian had a piece that should piss a lot of people off. They say plastic fibers found in tap water around the world is what the latest study is revealing. It's saying that billions of people globally are drinking water contaminated with plastic particles, with 83% of samples found to be polluted. Isn't this interesting? It says microplastic contamination has been found in tap water in countries around the world, leading to calls from scientists for urgent research on the implications for health. Scores of tap water samples from more than a dozen nations were analyzed by scientists from an investigation by Orb Media, who shared the findings with The Guardian. Over 83% of the samples were contaminated, containing plastic fibers. The U.S. has the highest contamination rate, of course, because that's how we roll, at 94%. With plastic fibers found in tap water samples at sites including Congress buildings and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency headquarters and Trump Tower in New York, and Lebanon and India had the next highest rates. European nations, including the UK, Germany, and France, had the lowest contamination rate, but that was at 72%. And the average number of fibers found in each 500 milliliter sample ranged from 4.8 in the U.S. to 1.9 in Europe. Now, the new analyses indicate the ubiquitous extent of microplastic contamination in the global environment. Previous work had been largely focused on plastic pollution in the oceans, which suggests people are eating microplastics via contaminated seafood. It says we've had enough data looking at wildlife and the impacts that it's having on wildlife to be concerned, said Dr. Sherry Mason, a microplastic expert at the State University of New York and Fredonia, who supervised the analysis for Orb. She says if it's impacting wildlife, then how do we think that it's not going to somehow impact us? Now, a separate small study in the Republic of Ireland released in June also found microplastic contamination in a handful of tap water, as well as well samples. It says we don't know what the health impact is, and for that reason, we should follow precautionary principle and put enough effort into it now immediately so we can find out what the real risks are. Now, everybody put your tinfoil hat on for a second, and let's think about this for a second. Each and every day, we see planes fly through the sky, spraying these long, persistent contrails. People call them chemtrails. People call them persistent contrails. Call them what you will. But they're not normal. It's not the normal exhaust from a jet. It's been widely acknowledged all over the world that these technologies are used for a myriad of different things, from weather modification to atmospheric experimentation to the global dimming program. There's so many different ways. If you use HARP, you got to have metal nanoparticulate out in the atmosphere that HARP can radiate to create a plasma that heats up, superheats this plasma. And then that plasma is what makes that atmosphere, like the upper ionosphere, they can expand it up to 200 miles into space. And by doing it, you can take low orbiting satellites and you can put enough drag on it to drag it into the atmosphere and destroy it, among other things. HARP is a very versatile tool. But maybe, just maybe, all this contamination could be the result of years and years and years of being sprayed by all sorts of chemicals, nanoplastics, nanometals, all this kind of. We are killing our environment. And the question that I have is, are we being, and is planet Earth being geoengineered for something to come? Is planet Earth being terraformed for perhaps other life forms to come back? You know, these are things that a lot of people don't think about, but are very possible considering where we are right now in the history of humanity. So there's a lot of things to consider, but this right here, of course we should be concerned with microplastics in the water. But the biggest question for me is, how did they get there, number one? And number two, why? Once we figure out how they got there, then why were they doing what they did to get them there? I know a lot of people say, well, it's because we use plastic for everything. It's just contaminated our environment. Could be. Could very well be. But it's certainly not as fun as the fallen ones returning to Earth after a long hiatus, and by God, their henchmen here on planet Earth have to terraform the Earth so that they can come back and destroy us all. I mean, that sounds like so much more fun. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day, everybody.